want to welcome to the Straight Red Card a favorite of all Canadians everywhere, writer and regular for bigsoccer.com, Bill Archer. Bill, how are things in your neck of the woods?
Everything in my neck of the woods is spectacular. How about you guys?
Well,
they're golden.
Yeah, they're golden. We're buried in snow. You know about that, right?
Yeah, I do. We have a little snow here ourselves, but I have to tell you right up front, though, I'm really disappointed. I thought at least one of you guys would sound like Cheech Marin.
Well, then you haven't been listening to the show, Bill. Come on.
I think the dog ought to be able to sneak in sometime. Was he out back having a milk bone or something? I don't know.
Well, to be straight up about the dog and be honest, there are about 2 or 3 people that work the dog on a regular basis as far as posting goes, but I unfortunately have been his voice through many of those little things. So,
was it you who called Elizabeth
Lambert?
Lambert?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to admit to that. Never mind, I'll pass. I don't want
Well, yeah. I mean, there's some that my brother has done, and there's some that I have done, but we sound very much alike. But he does also a really good Triumph. But that's another story altogether. Well, let's start because we had that barn burner last night between the United States and Chile. I just want to start with this question: is anyone else tired of watching the United States try to play a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-5-1 or a 4-2-2-1-1, whatever the hell you want to call it, because it seems to me that it steals the width of the field away from the team and kind of forces us to play this one-touch football that only Barcelona and Arsenal and some of the best teams in the world can get away with. And it eliminates our advantages, our speed down the wings, our athleticism. So I thought we looked horribly inept until we returned to that 4-4-2.
Well, I agree. I couldn't agree more. And Bob is in love with that, and he's going to keep playing it until he gets fired, because I thought he was going to keep doing it until he changed, but that's not going to happen. He refuses. The thing about it is he has to, you're absolutely right. Our advantage is our speed on the wings, and which is why he couldn't live without Robbie Findlay at the Olympics, because Charlie Davies had gone down. But that opens up our midfielders are not good enough and quick enough to control the ball and play the field and distribute the way it is. And if we don't have speed out on the wings or up front or somewhere out there, then the defense crowds up.
Yep.
When we speed out there, they have to back up, and that gives our midfielders, who are not, the quickest. I mean, we don't have Lionel Messi. We don't even have Guillermo Barros Schelotto, for Pete's sake.
Right.
They need more time, and the speed outside gets them the time. And I mean, it's so obvious. Why? Would you explain to me why he doesn't get this when everybody else does?
Well, I really can't. I mean, the thing is, though, maybe he's listening to all the people out there that are saying, "Oh, we got to play something different. We got to do a 4-2-3-1. We got to do a 4-3-3." I mean, come on. No, I mean, he's not doing this to appease anybody, but certainly we are. If you were to put the United States in a sort of premiership level scale, we're not the kind of team that could play anything but a 4-4-2. We got to keep it simple. We got to use our athleticism. A 4-2-3-1 just doesn't allow us to use the width of the field.
My guess is if it's actually a FIFA date and you had the 100% starting 11 out there, we would still be playing a 4-4-2. Since these aren't, and we have a kind of a mix, well, some of them are, but we sort of still have a kind of a mixed roster. I think this is really where Bob's trying to experiment. Obviously, it's not working. We need to stick to the 4-4-2, in my opinion, or the 4-2-2-2, however you want to look at it.
Whatever the hell you want to call it.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm just tired of playing with the solo striker.
We played with a solo striker back when we actually had a really terrific target man named Brian McBride.
Amen.
Yep. We didn't win back then either. I mean, we could hold our own, but he's not there anymore. And he tried it with Kenny Cooper, and we tried it with we don't have a really cool target man that can take a beating up front and still hold the ball with his back to the goal, and have quick wingers running off of him and stuff. I mean, if we did, guys like Bunbury would be worth their weight in gold.
All right.
And by the way, that's another guy we stole from the Canadians. Thank you very much, guys.
Well,
that they're angry about that, aren't they?
yeah, I bet you they are kind of pissed about that. But then, as Brett brought up in our discussion either yesterday, I don't know when the hell it was, Brett, but I think it was maybe even earlier today. But, you saw Shea. This is a guy that, was supposed to be playing left midfield. But where was he most of the game? He was standing in the middle
Center
of
circle.
the field, and that means when there is a change of possession and we have the ball, you can't get it out wide to anybody to take advantage of the opposite field, because where is Shea? He's tucked in so tight, you can't take advantage of switching a quick switch field down the line play. So, it like I said, I hope we get over this.
Well, I and again, every time I say something mean about Richey, who I've never liked, not an MLS, I don't like his game at all. I really, well, I'm not going to get into it, but every time I say something mean about the guy, 40, 50 people come out of the woodwork screaming, invective at me about how, Richey is a great young talent and blah, blah, blah. And I don't see it. And last night, I thought it was very typical. He's very frustrating to watch.
Yeah.
Physically, he's a heck of a handful. If he was a middle linebacker, I think it was great. But, yes, he's very difficult in tight. He's very difficult for smaller players, like Chile had, to deal with. But so what? Are we holding a riot, or are we trying to play soccer?
Yeah.
While we're talking about Shea, what's your take on him potentially playing center back?
I'd like to see it more. I'd like to see it some. I think that would seem to me to be a perfect position for him. The problem is, like a lot of guys, he's not going to get to play that in MLS. Yeah. The national team, and it's true in a lot of teams, I suppose it's not really us, but the national team can't call up your club coach and say, by the way, you have to play this guy because I want him to get some experience at center back. For one thing, Peter Vermees would hang up on him, and for another, but it's not. You can't do that. But yes, that's ideally. That's exactly where I'd like to see him play, and I'd like to see him get some experience. And there's nothing. He would have wonderful distribution out of that position, which is something that a guy like Clarence Goodson is never going to give you.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of Dax McCarty?
Well, personally for me, and Brett, I think as well, but I'm not going to speak for him. But I thought Dax was quite good last night. He made kind of one oops pass backwards at the end of the game. But otherwise, I thought he was all over the field. He was trying to be as active as possible. I thought the real guy who I didn't notice hardly at all last night doing much was Lorenowitz. But that's my take on him.
See, it's a shame on my part because I agree with everything, so I don't have much to say on that. Dax was all over the field, and he was the go-to player. Between him and Mix, I think those were the two go-to players. I think Dax probably had the better game of the two. But yeah, I agree also that Lorenowitz was sort of non-existent. He just wasn't there. He had a couple plays here and there, but overall he just didn't make his presence known.
Well, I thought Mix was trying to create, and he wasn't always on, and that's tough. I kept thinking this really reminded me a lot of the Combine. A bunch of guys who don't play together particularly, and they're all trying to impress, and they're all a little nervous, and they're all decent crowd, by the way. I was really sort of 18,000 for Chile.
Nice. Yeah. That surprised the hell out of me too. Of course, Harks and had mentioned during the game, I think at some point that a lot of them were Chilean fans, but that's fine. It was still packed.
Oh yeah. No, I didn't know there were that many. You go anywhere in the United States and it shocks you.
It does, yeah.
When El Salvador game in Columbus and the place was 2/3 full of El Salvador, I didn't know that many El Salvadorans in the country.
There are, yeah, absolutely. And the other thing I was going to bring up, I think we can start talking about some of the positions in general, but. You can't really blame Wondolowski for being nearly non-existent for that first half because, the setup that we had, the formation we had was ridiculous. But how about Bunbury and Agudelo? That was kind of nice. Those guys came in, they were aggressive.
Well, Agudelo is another one, and he came out of nowhere, out of they're Red Bulls Academy system, and he's a homegrown, and he signed with them. And I thought that I said last summer it was grossly unfair. They're signing all these big money, big shots from overseas, and then this incredibly talented young kid lands in their lap. But the thing about it though is that playing with those guys, playing with Marquez, playing with Henri, he's going to get really good. And Baki is protecting him very well. They give him very limited responsibilities, and so he hasn't got a lot to worry about. He just goes out and play, and I think he's in a perfect situation. And the guy's obviously a bundle of talent, and I think he really, in the next 10 years, he could really be one of the best forwards we've ever had, and I'm really excited about him.
Yeah, and you got to kind of wonder because we've kind of had that feeling before. And you're just, I don't know if you're like me, you're kind of wondering, is this feeling going to be the right one? Is this the guy who's going to really do it? Because we've had, a myriad of guys that we thought, this is going to be the guy.
Sure. I mean, of course, it's an unanswerable question, but